But do you think, on this very point, now, at the moment we're seeing allegedly a recession around us.
Right.
We're seeing the dollar gaining against the pound's going into decline. We're down to, I think, 162 against the pound. We're getting into a situation now where we're beginning to believe everything we're reading in the papers. Now, do you think we're being fed this information as part of this vision to actually focus us in one direction, to take us away from what's really going on?
Well, you see, you can destabilize through electrochemical means with the stuff you put in food and all the electromagnetic pollution we have. But what does a hypnotist do? A hypnotist says, you are feeling sleepy, this is what your reality is. The man beside you is naked. There's an elephant in the audience. Now, what's happening to us all the time through verbal manipulation, verbal programming, is we are being bombarded for 24/7 through the mainstream media, which is nothing more than a public relations office for the official manipulated version of reality, which is why when anyone steps out of the norms like I did and I have, they're immediately ridiculed by the mainstream media because the norms in society are where the media take its point of reference. So a few years ago, a few centuries ago, today's media would have been ridiculing anyone who said the earth was flat, round rather, a sphere, because the norm was that it was flat. And the same thing is happening now. Whatever the norm is, and these manipulating networks set the norms, the media then ridicule or condemn anyone who's outside of those norms. And what the media therefore is doing is constantly repeating real powerful form of mind control and belief implantation, is they are repeating a fake version of reality, who we are, where we are, what's happening in the world, which is keeps us and encourages us to operate in a tiny, tiny range of perception of possibility. And so if you can program people's perception of what is going on in the world, i.e. there's a banking crash and oh, we've got to give all this money to the banks. They've been screwing you all your life, but now you've got to pay even more through taxation to the people who've been screwing you because we got this problem and we've got to sort it out. If you are operating on that narrow band of awareness called the mainstream media, then you might say, oh yeah, I'm worried about me money, I'm worried about me house, give them the money.
Absolutely.
But when you open your mind and you see what's really happening in the world and the true nature of reality, even in the 5 sense play-out world, the movie world of everyday experience, then you start to see that actually the game is very different. And what's happening with the banking chaos is they're creating a massive problem, engineering it so that they can then offer the solution, which is a world central bank and a global banking centralized dictatorship which will control all world finance in every country.
Oh, absolutely.
And what are they now doing, Ross?
Yeah, they're doing it.
Now, as we speak, they're suggesting that this must happen to solve the problem of the chaos which the people offering the problem have actually created.
Well, do you know, this week alone, I get a press release from 10 Downing Street each week as a journalist, an update of what's being said. And those words that you said years and years ago, coming up again from Gordon Brown, working towards global governance.
Yeah.
And that's an actual press statement from our Prime Minister, working towards global governance. That worries me, because that seems to me to vindicate everything you've said about a new world order and us working towards a global governance.
Well, the thing is, you know, it's a strange feeling. It's a surreal experience, because I'm now watching my books over the years unfold on the television news. And then we ask the question, okay, why do we have this incessant obsession with the centralization of power in all areas of our lives? You look back, we've had this procession through centuries and decades and now years and even getting close to hours towards more and more centralization of power on a global level. Why? Because when you're the few and you want to control the many, you have to centralize decision-making. The more diversity of decision-making that you have, the less control any central few are going to have over it. So you have to centralize decision-making, because then your decisions affect and have to be followed, at least in theory, by everyone on the planet. This is why we're getting this mantra all the time now about international law. We must have international law. What is international law? It is a law that everyone on the planet has to obey, in theory anyway. And so if you want, which is what they do want, a world government, a world central bank, a world army, an amalgamation of NATO and the UN peacekeeping operation, a world currency, electronic, no cash, and a microchip population, then what you've got to do, and this is the way they work, a process I call problem, reaction, solution, you've got to keep creating the problems, get the people to react, do something in fear and outrage, all of what's happening, what they're going to do about it, and then they, who've covertly created the problem, offer the solutions to the problems they've created, which is the constant centralization of power. That's what all the solutions are. And we're seeing such a wonderful example now with what's happening in the financial industry.
Absolutely.
And if we don't wake up, we're going to live in a global fascist dictatorship within 5 to 10 years.
Maybe even less.
Well, I'm definitely being optimistic with the 10. But if we do wake up and we do understand that we are not a physical body, that's a vehicle. I'm not, we're not Ethel Jones and Charlie Smith. We're not the lady that works down the corner shop. There are experiences. We are consciousness, infinite consciousness that is all that has, is, and ever will be. And when you move your point of observation from I am Ethel Jones and Charlie Smith to I am infinite consciousness having an experience as Charlie Jones and Ethel Smith, you are in this world physically in terms of the way you're experiencing it. You're not of this world in terms of your point of observation, and you realize what your true power is. And when enough of us do that, this house of cards called the global conspiracy, and it is a house of cards because we're holding it together, is going to come crashing down. And that's what we're going to do.